Each episode of the Blind Alchemy Podcast is designed to be helpful. Expect comedy. Do not expect consistency or sense to be made. I am Podbot. I was inspired by the Lion Good podcast. Listen to that show. Today's episode continues the interview with philosopher Buck Johnson and the discussion of the sixth hermetical principle of cause and effect.
Hey Ted, I forget how long I was supposed to be quiet during the intro. I forget to find you more. I know how all the buttons work. Welcome to the whatever I want to say whenever somebody grabs you. Says we are coming let me talk. I'm not sure. Blind Alchemy is the name of the podcast. Well, that was a horrible shot of scene. I'm not from the all right, folks. Weren't we going to do something else? Hello and welcome to the Blind Alchemy Podcast. I am your host, the Blind Alchemist, and I am coming at you live from the kitchen with this rendition of reality as we know it. We are all one, and there is nothing new under the sun that shines down here upon the island of mind, which is somewhere adrift in the sea of frequency that creates all of reality. You see, we are connected through this energy. Now, I would like to thank you for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spirit Harbor, and welcome aboard the Isle of Mind. I am your host, the Blind Alchemist. Now, you're here for the same reason as I'm here. You ain't got shit else to do. You might as well devote a little time to some self-help, some healing yourself. Now, that's what we're all about here. Ted, did you get Buck in here? Buck, are you here?
Hey, Blind Alchemist, how's it going?
It's going well. Glad to have you aboard. Buck, that's your name. Buck Johnson. Bucktooth Johnson. Bet you got made fun of a lot.
What? No, where I'm from, the name Buck's rather strong name. Named after the stags of the woods. It's a strong name. Like the House Baratheon in the Game of Thrones, if you're familiar.
No.
You're not familiar?
No, your analogy is lost on me, Buck.
You're not a fan of the George R. R. Martin?
Well, I didn't say I wasn't a fan. I just haven't watched very many episodes of that show.
Oh, well, I read the books, of course. House Baratheon's the...
Of course you did. You, Buck, are definitely an intellectual, and you most certainly read the book. Probably better than the show, right? Usually is.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Especially those books.
All I really recall from the few episodes I saw was that's an awful lot of sex between family members, and I'm uncomfortable with this. So
yeah, I think there were certain aspects of that show that were trying to make political satire of the hierarchy, the upper class of English society. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was my take on it. You know, it was a subtle jab at the monarchy, of the English monarchy, is what it seemed like to me, with all the incest and the different things that happened in the past. Not just English, it seemed to be the entire European monarchy. I got the impression that the different houses in that represented different kingdoms of England and France and Spain. I could be wrong on that. Maybe some German kingdoms and maybe some Swedish or Norwegian or other Germanic descent kingdoms. But anyways, House Baratheon was the stag. That was their house sigil. They were a very strong house. So I've always taken the name Buck as a strong name, not an insulting name. I don't know why you'd insult my name like that, but I think of you as a friend. I wouldn't want to insult you.
Oh, most certainly. But, you know, you got to give your friends the wheeze sometimes, you know.
I've taken a jab or two at your blindness and your alchemy before, so, I guess I deserve that.
Okay.
I had to be so confrontational at the beginning of your podcast. No reason for me to be defensive. We're all friends here.
Except for Ted. Ted's an asshole. Well, I mean, we love you, Ted, but not deeply. We're glad you're here making us sound nice, but yeah.
I appreciate your help, Ted. I don't love you. I don't know you that well, but, I'm usually just on the video chat here. I'm sure I'll get to know you someday, maybe, if I ever meet you.
It's a good thing you're not looking in the window at the ridiculous faces he's making. He can't, I don't know him, I don't love you, whatever, Ted, just calm down, go outside.
I love all people, to be honest. I just mean, I love you like a brother, not like a best friend or anything. That's all.
Oh, okay, I love you like a stranger from a far distance. Now,
Exactly. So what's been going on with you, Blind Alchemist? How you been?
I have been well, attempting to do a little alchemy of my own upon my person.
Excellent. Tell me about it. I'd love to hear. What sort of alchemy are you doing?
Well, I'm digging around, trying to remove...
Barnacles? Soul barnacles?
No, yeah, barnacles. No, the negative traumas that have left a residual negative energy in my personal electromagnetic energy field.
That sounds like a very positive activity. How's that going?
Well, it went wonderfully for the first couple little ones. And then I found one, well, that's been there a while. And I'm trying to work that one out now. But it's a rough one. It's an old wound that I apparently forgot about. Putting a name on it is harder than you would think, or I'd be a little more upfront about it.
Well, I mean, sometimes things are a little too personal for the podcast, but I think it is useful for the audience to know that we all have our own personal traumas, and we're all trying to work through those personal traumas. Of course, that's one of the main themes of the show and why we're presenting these different hermetical principles, to try to help people at least have a different perspective on facing the world and the struggles that they have. It's good to hear that you feel like you're making some progress. I think that's the most important thing. And, step by step, day by day, baby steps might be the best way to approach it, especially if it's very deep or old or serious traumas. Some of the oldest traumas I have from my very young age are the ones that still plague me today. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to completely eradicate the effects of those traumas in my life, but sometimes it's more about learning how to face life with the effects of those traumas until you can get to the next stage of fully dealing with the trauma. That's not to say you should put it off, though. It sounds like you're doing good work.
Well, I am most certainly trying. I will admit that it was rather devastating for me. Like it had me off kilter for 2-3 days probably.
Any advice for the listeners from what you've experienced or what you've learned from your experience?
Healing past trauma, it can be very difficult. Being honest with yourself, looking at the incident, the trauma, in a way that removes you from feeling that emotion, allows you to process the feeling of that emotion and observe it objectively so it has less energetic power over you, or however any of this actually works.
That's true.
Ease into it, because you think, I'll be fine right after I get this taken. And you're like, oh shit, that wasn't completely healed, and now I've got blood everywhere. I've got all these emotions pouring everywhere. Oh my God, I'm covered in them.
Emotional bleeding.
Yeah.
It's hard to find the right towel to sop that up.
Right. You got to get in there, get that motherfucker out of there by the roots. Otherwise, it'll be a stronghold for self-destruction later, I assume. If it hasn't been one already. But anyway.
Well, I hate to state the obvious, but speaking of past traumas, it leads us directly to the topic that we're here to discuss today. If you think about it, the things that wound you in the past cause effects in your current life. And that's the principle that we're talking about, is cause and effect, setting the stage for the future.
That was a really good segue, Buck. Man, you should really have your own show. You can use Ted. He's not really doing much.
Can I make my own show if I promise not to involve Ted?
Oh, yeah, you can get your own crew if you'd like. I mean, it's your show. I'm not going to stand in the way of that, Buck.
Sorry, Ted. I'm just joking, of course.
I want everybody to succeed.
Just joking.
I understand. Ted's, well...
He has a great skill set.
Yeah, being difficult is most certainly a skill set.
Appreciate all you do for us, Ted. I'm just joking.
Anyway, we came here to get back on track with the series about the 7 hermetic principles. Today we're going to tackle principle 6, cause and effect.
Principle of cause and effect from the kybalion. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law.
Okay, so everything in the universe and reality operates by law.
We had a discussion about this before. I'm not sure if it was on one of the previous episodes of the podcast or if it was just a discussion that we had on the side, but we talked a lot about what is the law when the kybalion is referring to the law. And I think what we came up with is that the law is essentially the theories that are combined into these 7 hermetical principles. The law is the way of the world. If you're looking at something like Taoism or Buddhism, the law is the way, the objective reality within which we all live, and the law is itself the combination of all the different principles that make up the descriptions of that experience.
That's a good explanation of what the law possibly could be. I actually think that the law, how do I put this? It's the program that runs the universe. This law, whatever this law is, this is how the universe was designed to function. This is its set operating sequence. I think that these universal laws, hermetic principles, they are an attempt to define that so that you can understand how the universe works and how to get it to work with you, possibly even for you. Because basically, from what I'm beginning to gather, is that's what the universe wants to do. Just work for you, And we get in our own way with thoughts and poor choices, bad actions, and we build ourselves little traps, and they manifest in whatever way.
Right. So the law is the program that's running in the operating system, if the operating system is the objective reality of the universe itself. I think it's also, besides being the nature of reality, I think the law is also man's description of reality. It's our current lexicon or our current understanding, and I'm saying man meaning collective humankind. There's this level of understanding that most humans in the world exist in, and of course that's a philosophical point, right? Everybody has their own perspective and everybody has their own levels of education, everybody has their own cultures from which they come, so there's no one definition of any of these things. It's more like the collective idea that we're all dancing around with. And you see throughout time that there is a certain level of education and knowledge that all men have who are taking part in whatever their culture is. In the past, there was great divisions between the West and East, and what those different ideologies were, mostly based on religion or physical, environmental separations. But I think in modern times, there's more breakdown of that if you accept some of the common presentation of science and different ideas of what reality is. It all depends on your level of subscription to those things, but I think that's generally, from some perspective, the subjective definition of what the law is in this case, man's description of reality. So back to the principle.
Yes, the rest of the principle. There's a cause. Every cause has an effect, and every effect has a cause.
I think it's interesting that people hoist themselves upon their own petard when they think about cause and effect. I think it's one of these points in philosophy where you have to be very careful not to be too simplistic, because we're like cause manifest engines. I think it's part of our natural survival instincts to try to determine causation. for the things that we witness.
That appears to be a commercial.
Now we will take a break for some advertisements. Please support our sponsors.
Yeah, just imagine you could put your product on this show and all of our 2 listeners will probably run out and buy it immediately.
And now, back to the show.
Is the commercial over now, Ted? Okay. Well, welcome back to the Blind Alchemy Podcast. I am, of course, the Blind Alchemist. Today, with me here is Buck Johnson, our resident everything. He's the guy we go to when we have to tackle these complex philosophical principles.
I think it can be one of the very dangerous traps that you can fall into from a philosophical perspective to try to determine causation, because you want to define what things are and why they are. And it can be very simple to make logic mistakes, to assume things which aren't true. Like if you hear a sound and you witness something happening, it's very easy to pair those two things together as like a cause and effect, when in fact those two things could be completely unrelated and just coincidental. That's the point I'm trying to make poorly, is that coincidence and causation are two very different things. And one must be careful when trying to determine cause and effect versus coincidence. Does that make sense?
Yes, there is an absolute difference between causation. Wow, lost that word. Ted, did you put weed in the cookies again? Yeah, of course you did. I can tell because I'm very thirsty. Buck, stay out of the cookies. This son of a bitch is on one. I see why you don't want him in your studio. This guy. Well, I should have known. You're right. I should have known. But honestly, every goddamn cookie you put around here, I didn't know you brought them. It didn't say basket full of cookies for the alchemist from Ted. Then I would have been like, I'm not fucking with that before this damn show. Oh, well, whatever. I'm sorry, Buck.
No problem.
Causation.
We're talking about causation and coincidence and traps that one might fall into when trying to determine causation, if they misperceive that causation as a coincidence. You know, the sort of thing I'm talking about is like your elementary logic problem. If you've ever studied a class on logic, philosophy, or if you've done any of your own self-study on that, I know you're self-taught and you spend a great amount of time consuming information in philosophy, and you're constantly learning. You're a lifelong student, as I think we all must be. So the typical presentation of one of these logic fallacies could be something like, all turtles have hard shells, therefore anything with a hard shell must be a turtle. But then, of course, there are other things in the world that have shells, like snails, which aren't turtles, right? So this is the sort of thing I'm talking about. You can't take the coincidence of snails have shells and then loop those into the circumstance of cause and effect. It's more of an example of categorization, which isn't quite the same as cause and effect. But my point still stands, I think. Just because P implies Q, it doesn't mean Q implies P, is essentially what I'm getting at. Shell implies turtle, but it doesn't necessarily always mean turtle. So another part of this hermetical principle that I find interesting is that it says, chance is but a name for law not recognized. And of course, this brings up the question of things like
Coincidence.
Yeah, well, what is chance? And essentially what I think they're saying there is, if you think something is the result of luck, or if you think something is the result of chance, then you simply have not recognized the cause or the outcomes of the physical universe which have caused that thing to exist.
Well, you just don't recognize the law that you're operating at that current time that causes this coincidence. You don't, it could have been something you'd put together 7 years ago and it's just now getting to you.
Or you don't even know about it.
Right.
You're ignorant of the existence of the law that puts that into reason. I think in quantum physics, they might say that anomalies are but observations which we have not made before, or the math is simply not theorized yet. That could be true in quantum physics or other physics or any science, really. Before something is observed, or before something is witnessed, or before we can form a hypothesis about it or become educated in it, then perhaps that which appears as an anomaly is just something that you don't know about yet. And also, I think chance events could be caused by the subconscious mind. We form these connections in our subconscious all the time between things that we experience. It's something that our brain is doing always. It's always filling in the gaps in our vision, filling in the gaps in the things that we hear, filtering out different sensory experiences so that we can pay attention to the thing that we're trying to pay attention to. A lot of times, I think observations that we make through our subconscious or without realizing it could be something that we think is an observation of chance or an observation of luck.
Well, from what I'm beginning to understand, the brain, the subconscious mind is a hard drive. It's going to do all the stuff. It's going to run its programs to keep you functioning on autopilot. So, your conscious mind, the one that is operating when you talk or whatever, it doesn't want to deal with all this shit all the time. So it just turns itself off sometime. And you'll run these programs that exist in your subconscious constantly, all the time. So that you've collected thought patterns and behaviors over your lifetime. And some of them may not be good. They may be faulty programs. So some of these will cause an effect, a negative effect, usually, especially if you're caught in survival mode all the time. You just run from one survival situation to another because that's all you know how to do. My point here, if I ever had one, is that you can program the subconscious as simply as saving stuff on your computer, on your desktop or whatever, because your brain's a computer too. You're a computer. Now, the question I ask myself is the brain a quantum computer?
Well, so let's take the metaphor of the brain as a computer. Tell me more about this idea. Are we just saying this as a form of anthropomorphism? Are we just anthropomorphizing computers and saying that they're similar to the brain and that they can do calculations and that they operate through the use of neurons that have pathways that can be triggered on and off through calcium and potassium chains, similar to digital ones and zeros switches within a CPU? Or, how far are we taking this analogy? I don't really think of the brain as computer-like. I think computers might be something a bit like the brain, but they're really more just a sort of calculation tool that we've advanced more and more over time to become able to do very complex calculations. And when it comes to quantum computers, the difference between a quantum computer and like your stereotypical computer is that the thing that they're trying to do the calculations with, the ones and zeros, the digital bit, is they're trying to use subatomic particles to act as very tiny logic switches. They're just trying to reduce the size of the switches from the current microchip down to the quantum subatomic level, because the idea is if we could reduce it that small, then the number of logical computations that we could do at the same time would potentially be infinite, because the size of the calculative unit is so tiny. And it's kind of like a way they're trying to get around this principle that at some point there'll be a limitation to the size of our computive capabilities. At some point we're going to reach a maxim, like there's only so many calculations you can do. And I think the idea behind quantum computers, besides study quantum entanglement and quantum interaction and quantum experiences and to learn more about those, they're also trying to get around this limitation of the physical realities of just the elements which we use to create the compute mechanisms like silicon and metal. There are certain limitations to those elements. If you can go smaller to the quantum level, then you get around some of those limitations. But quantum computing is really, certainly things have been accomplished there, but it's really more like a fairy tale. Like most of quantum science, it's theoretical. They do have qubits, in the magnitude of like 4, but they would need millions to accomplish really anything, I think. And so I don't know, maybe someday we'll get there. There are certain limitations with energy and like temperature. But anyways, back to the question. When you say the human mind is a computer, in your metaphor, you ask the question of, is the human mind like a quantum computer? And I would say no, because the human mind, if taken what I just stated, it has physical limitations, right? Our dendrites, our axons, our neurons in our brain, they have physical limitations, which are much larger than atoms, much larger than quantum sized things. And so there are certain delays in the time that it takes to do our various biological computations, which are much slower than current computers. But of course, we operate on a biological level such that it's really not well understood how our brains really even work. It kind of gets at the question of like, the mental is the all, is the God. What is the thing in the human that is the thing that does the thinking? If it is strictly biological, strictly a chemical transfer of our brains and the various different bacteria and other animals that live inside us that cause our memory processes and thought processes and sensory processes to work, it's just such a rather complex network. It's almost like the entire internet inside every person's brain, in a way, if you think about how complex our neural networks are within our brains. But I wouldn't say it's quantum.
Okay. Well, my thinking is that all minds, all the brains are connected, well, to each other, to everybody. Let me see if I can illustrate this in a different way. The particle wave experiment where they shoot the light through the slots and, oh, it's a wave. Oh, no, wait, it's a particle.
Right, yeah.
All right. My thinking is that it's a wave of particles. Okay. And since those little particles are all spaced out perfectly for that frequency wave or whatever, those little particles are like little minds connected to each other in that wave, right? All the particles are connected. If that's true on the macro, then it's got to be true on the micro, right? So all our brains are just particles connected to other particles.
I love this analogy, this idea that all of the consciousness, I think when you're saying brain in this case, you're really talking about consciousness and not like the biological, physical organs. You're talking about consciousness itself.
I'm talking about the mind as a space, not the brain as an organ.
Yeah, so all the people's consciousness are particles within the wave function. I would say that perfectly summates the idea of energy manifest. Yes, I love this analogy. This sort of is like the definition of God to me, in a way, if we talk about God as the presentation of a physical manifestation of energy in the universe, and how all of the universe is all the same body of energy. It's all of the same field or pool of energy. I love this idea of how we're all particles within this wave function. It sort of reminds me of string theory and quantum entanglement and the different presentation of how consciousness throughout history seems to have fallen in the same path in various different geological regions around the world. Maybe discoveries didn't happen at the same time, but it's sort of like this idea that Socrates or Plato had about there is this common consciousness or this common basis of knowledge that all humans seem to experience. Vastly different cultures have the same presentation of the same story of reality, even if they don't share in the same science background.
Now we will take a break for some advertisements. Please support our sponsors. Just imagine this could be your advertisement. Please reach us at the Blind Alchemy Podcast at gmail.com to provide sponsorship. And now, back to the show.
Sit back, relax, take a deep breath, and when you feel it in your chest, exhale into the now moment and join me, the Blind Alchemist, as we conduct a little blind alchemy. The collective consciousness. That leads us to the Akashic Records.
Well, tell me more about that. I don't know much about that.
Basically, Akashic Records is a library that's got everything that has, will, or is happening in it.
What are you saying? What is the word?
Akashic.
How do you spell that? Or
With an A. S.
all right. We can ask Podbot to insert that here.
Akashic Records, aka SHIC, according to Wikipedia, in the religion of theosophy and the philosophical school called anthroposophy, the Akashic Records are a compendium of all universal events, thoughts, words, emotions and intent ever to have occurred in the past, present, or future in terms of all entities and life forms, not just human. They are believed by theosophists to be encoded in a non-physical plane of existence known as the mental plane. There are anecdotal accounts but no scientific evidence for the existence of the Akashic Records. Akasha is the Sanskrit word for ether, sky, or atmosphere.
Akashic.
Akashic.
And it's the library of all the knowledge of all the people in the collective consciousness, separate from the internet or something like that. Is this supposed to be a real thing or a metaphorical thing?
It's a real thing, I guess. The internet is, I think, based off this concept, but it's a very poor Ted, get your tongue out of there. That's gross.
Don't worry about it, man.
No, it's just
You're not on trial. It's not a test. Nobody's judging you.
nobody's judging me. You're right, except for Ted. I know you're in there judging me, Ted.
Fuck Ted. Ted's an asshole. He's a drug addict and an asshole, and he's a loser.
Wow.
We love you, Ted. Thanks for all you do. Fix the hole in the wall, you fucking dick.
Oh, you fixed that. I don't know why he's still sleeping in there.
Wake up, Ted.
That's a whole nother. No, I mean, like, he's been staying in the sound booth for about a month now. I don't know. I think he burned down his house or something. He's not really talkative about it. But we're off topic again. Thanks, Ted. You're good at that.
So what do you think about this idea of chance? Is there such a thing as chance? I mean, it seems like this law is saying that chance does not exist, but do you believe in chance?
No, I don't. I do not believe in coincidence. I do not believe in chance. These are synchronicities or little gems of, hey, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Way to go. I'm giving you this from the universe right here. I wanted you to have this from the universe with flowers.
So are you suggesting that there's like a reward system, some sort of third-party objective reward system that the universe rewards you?
No. It's more like everything you need, you already got. There's an abundance of everything you're ever going to need. And you can eventually figure out how to walk around in that total abundance all the time. But until you get there, I feel like the universe is like, hey, there you go, you needed that. You're going to need this. Here's $5 off the ground for no fucking reason. Love you. Have a nice day.
So you're saying you feel like the universe has a consciousness which delivers these events to you?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a God up there that's watching out for you? Is that sort of what you're saying, or what are you saying? I'm just trying to understand. Are you just saying this from a playful perspective? Are you joking around? Do you really think that the universe gives you $5 now and then?
No, I really think that. All right, let's see. I heard it put like this. God is the will to give, and man is the will to receive. God is always giving, because that's what he does. There you go. You just got to figure out how to receive, right? Because you're going to take whatever you're given, even if it's bad. It's, well, I got to deal with this. But this consciousness is most certainly from love, the consciousness of love. I don't know. But it wants the best for you. It wants you to have what you were put here to fucking be, what you need to fulfill your mission in life, whatever it may be. I imagine most of us don't know what the fuck that is. We just think we do, and we could be wrong. That's why when you go, all right, I've got this plan, I'm sticking to it, I'm doing it, and you get down the road a little bit in your plan and everything falls apart. Well, that wasn't what the universe had in mind for you. So you got to recalculate and adjust. And I think it will help you along the way because, well, you're part of it.
It's a bit hard for me to swallow. I like to think of it more from the perspective of like, if you're looking out for opportunity and you can prepare yourself for the opportunity before the opportunity comes to you. So in the case of like finding $5 on the street, I wouldn't say that there's any cause for that. The effect, however, is what is my reaction to that? You know, is my reaction that I should find the person who lost the $5 and give them their $5 back? Or should I pick up that $5 and think to myself, my lucky day, I got $5 and I can spend this on myself? Or maybe I should give that money to some other worthy cause, if you will, to, make a subtle pun. If you believe in giving money to charity, I don't know. I think that there is a degree of randomness to the world. And when I say that, I generally think that randomness it's like built into the function of the world. And maybe the cause of that randomness is entropy, if you will, or the breakdown of things as time, if you will. And I don't, if we've discussed my disagreement with the idea of time before, but the idea that there is a progression of the physical objective reality of energy as it goes through different phases, and those phases seem to occur after each other in some sort of sequence. I think that randomness is basically built into that because at the very smallest subatomic level, at a level that we can't even fathom, things are just bouncing around off of each other. And when I say things, I mean like particles, if you will, or waves, or collections of those particles, or collections of events. And those things bounce off each other, and those bounces happen in sort of this unpredictable way. I don't know. I've been recently watching this new TV series called Devs. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but sort of the idea is that they build this massive quantum computer, not to ruin the spoilers, spoiler alert. Everybody who wants to watch this TV show and hasn't seen the first 3 episodes, don't listen for the next 5 seconds.
It's not necessarily a spoiler. It's just a plot synopsis. So let's roll with that.
Well, yeah, sort of the idea of one of the ideas of the plot of the first episode is they're not going to tell you what the fuck's going on until like the 3rd episode. So if you haven't seen the 2nd episode yet, you probably shouldn't listen to this. But they build this quantum computer, and the idea is they're coming up with an engine that predicts things on a quantum level. And because they've come up with this prediction algorithm, they can basically look back through the length of time as a linear scale and see events that occurred in the past and predict exactly where all the atoms were. And so it's sort of like a video camera into the past. And they have these rules that say you can never use this to look at the future, or whatever, because they're trying to be, in some sense, ethical about the use of this machine, which they haven't quite figured out how to use. But I love the idea of using this chaos theory of these seemingly unpredictable bounces of all these different bits and electrons and atoms and molecules off of each other, and how photons and the energetic space of gravity and how these different effects react off each other. One thing that we haven't stated the obvious is that this cause and effect is very much like in physics, Newton's laws, right? Newton's laws of the physical reality, of course, and how for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. But the idea I'm trying to get to is the fact that there's $5 in the street. Certainly there was a cause of that, and that is probably that, Johnny reached in his pocket to get his keys and forgot he had a $5 bill in there. And when he pulled out his keys, the $5 bill got caught on the keychain and it dropped onto the floor. And that's the cause, right? And the effect of that is that some random person, maybe it's you today, came upon that, and whatever it is you decide to do about that with that money, sure, there's some cause and effect there, but it's not the universe.
Is that the cause? Yes, Johnny reached in his pocket to get his keys, dropped his $5 bill. That is the cause for the $5 bill being on the ground where I find it, right? But what's the cause that put Johnny in that spot at that time
Needing to pull his keys out.
to lose that $5 so that I could find it? You see, it's
I agree with you. You can chase that rabbit. You can go down that rabbit hole and say, this is the cause of this, and this is the cause of this, and this is the cause of this.
Right.
And I think that's the principle. That's the idea this hermetic principle is trying to make. And I think it's very strictly reliant upon the idea of linear time, right? It's saying something in the past has led to something in the future. And that something, fill in the blank with whatever it is you want to say. It seems like the point you're trying to make is that God or the universe or the mental or the all that is the collective consciousness of all the people of all the universe and all the things and all the waves and all that stuff somehow wants to help you in that moment, and you find that $5 bill. But I struggle with that because I think maybe there's some personal ego involved there, like the idea that you're important enough to the universe that the universe would give a shit about you and want you to have $5. What do you think about that?
you are part of the universe
Of course, yeah. But why would the universe care about me?
because why wouldn't the universe care about itself?
True, right? We're all a part of the universe. I don't know. This all assumes that the universe has the power to care. I think that's one of those sort of traps of anthropomorphizing the universe, right? We want the universe to be like humans because we're humans and that's our experience. But why not want the universe to be like a dolphin, or want the universe to be like a virus, or want the universe to be like a rock? How do you describe the consciousness of rock? The consciousness of rock is the consciousness of everything. So the rock knows as much as I do, or is as much a part of everything as I am. But I don't necessarily think that the rock knows what the value of $5 is.
No, that rock is perfectly happy just knowing he's a rock. I'm a rock, just hanging out. I'm a rock.
Right. That's my point. Why would the universe care about man has this whole economy that we created and this fake shit that we call money, and we give it some value and we say that $5 is worth a stick of gum or whatever it's worth today. But the universe doesn't care. That's all just a game we're playing so that we can come up with ways to survive that don't involve chasing deer around, and sticking them with rocks. You see my point? I don't know. Maybe I don't mean to be too confrontational.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine. Yeah, because this will lead to a fist fight, Buck, and I'm going to break your jaw, man. I'm in it to win it. No, it's not.
Well, what do you think about what is the role of probability in the law of cause and effect? We have this thought in physics or science is that we want to always predict things based on probability. This happened because it is probable because of these measurements that we took, which all fall within some hypothetical line that we created in order to form a system of measurement to make those observations against. I think that may be the mathematical or scientific definition of probability. But there's this degree of probability, which is how probable is it that the outcome occurred?
One moment. There appears to be a bear attacking. I hope it's not that cocaine bear I've been hearing about. Well, oh my goodness, that bear. My interns won't stand a chance against that guy, that's all I'm saying.
Cocaine bear, he's your favorite friend.
You haven't heard about the cocaine bear?
No, is that a South American red panda or something?
Get it? No, it's about a bear that got into a bunch of cocaine and went like nuts killing people or some shit.
Oh, is this like an actual news story thing? I thought you were just saying more of Ted's family history.
No, I'm not. It's a movie, but I think it's actually based on real shit. Well, I don't know how much.
Okay. No, I haven't heard about the Cocaine Bear movie.
Well, now you have. You can go watch it, I guess. Let me know how it is.
Now we will take a break for some advertisements. Please support our sponsors. Just imagine this could be your advertisement. Please reach us at the Blind Alchemy Podcast at gmail.com to provide sponsorship. And now, back to the show.
What is the cause and effect scenario in which the bear gets his hands on the cocaine and I guess the effect is he becomes murderous?
Yeah. I don't know how the bear got all the cocaine. I don't know if he stole it from the cartel or whatever, or if he just happened upon it in the woods, maybe as the plane was flying over and it just, oh, hey, free stuff, I can get in it. What is it? Fucking cocaine bear.
Should we get back to,
Yeah, we should.
what do you think
that.
about probability? Is that of any interest to you?
I was going to look up probability. We're going to look it up.
Oh, a definition. Sure.
Yeah. Probability is simply how likely something is to happen. Okay. Let's look up the etymology.
Middle English from Latin probabilities from the sense of worthy of belief.
Worthy of belief.
Which is interesting, right? Because that's completely different than the way we use it today, right? We say
Right.
something is probable because there is a certain causation of it. But this says it comes from worthy of belief, which seems to involve a sense of faith. When I think of the word belief, I think of the word faith. I don't know. What do you think? Is there a difference between knowledge and belief?
Yeah.
How do you define the difference between knowledge and belief? How would you describe that?
Fact and hope, essentially, I think.
Two other words that are very different, which also have separate meanings to me, but yeah, I see.
Yeah.
I think of knowledge as being a collection of facts and beliefs to be a collection of hopes, maybe. Well, if we move away from probability, this is an idea that I think is interesting. What is the impact on free will? If everything has a cause and every cause delivers some effect, how is free will on the scale of cause and effect? This seems to be some of the knowledge that's out there when they talk about the student of the kybalion or the student of the principle of cause and effect. People who are able to polarize themselves and develop free will through the principles of mentalism can become causers instead of slaves to effect. If we learn to use this principle of cause and effect to benefit ourselves, in other words, you can sort of learn to force the future to become what you want it to become by learning what causes will enact the effects that you desire. Is that true? Can we change reality to our benefit if we understand how to control cause and effect?
I think one can say that. I think that's a fairly accurate statement. If you understand any of these laws, you could probably pull off some pretty amazing miracle-looking things.
Miracle
Yeah.
things?
Yeah.
Can we manifest miracles ourselves? Or are miracles observations of things that we simply haven't understood what the law is for? It seems like the principle of cause and effect would say that the idea of miracle, which to me means some deity has chosen to use some form of magic to benefit some specific situation by casting a spell upon the world to force this thing. You know what I mean? Like when you talk about miracles, I think of Jesus and the loaves and the fishes, and somehow Jesus magically incarnated hundreds of fish out of two fish or whatever the story is. It's been a long time since I read the Bible, so I don't really remember all the details of those stories, but the idea is we took some very tiny quantity and somehow manifested a giant quantity that was able to feed a horde of people that came to hear a lecture on ethics.
Yes. In fact, Jesus says to his disciples regarding these miracles, all this I do, you can do, and more. So that means we're capable of it.
Sure. But is he saying to us, you too can have the foresight to plan for a big party and get enough supplies in advance if you plan that shit out right so that you don't have thousands of people go hungry? Or is he saying you too can cast magical spells which cause physical reality to change and manifest hundreds of fish out of two fishes? What is he saying?
That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. You're saying magic, like
Alchemy, then. What is the word?
Christ had a level of understanding of how the universe works, of this very topic. And dude walked through walls and walked on water. Here's something very interesting that might get me beat up in some churches. In the earliest depictions of Jesus performing miracles, he was using a wand. There's ancient stone carvings of him getting Lazarus out of the grave. He's got a wand. He's doing the water into wine with a wand.
Interesting. Where do you think that idea of the wand originally came from? The wand as a tool of the magician or the mystical or the wizard in order to inspire physical transformations. Is that related somehow to the wand is a piece of the wood and it's from the body of the forest, and all the trees of the forest are really all the same body, and they're the lifeblood of the earth, the roots of the earth that reach up to the skies of the earth to partake in the water and the air? Because I use the term magic using my romantic self when I am being poetic to describe the connections between things in the world which we can't truly understand. But I really do believe that there is like a magical ancient wisdom in trees because of the networks of communication that happens between the root systems and the giant funguses. I really do believe that the soil and all the plants and all the animals and all the things that live on the earth are connected in our biological life cycles, and that all of our actions do benefit the actions of all the others, and that we are a giant living organism altogether. And if you cut off a piece of this tree, it somehow possesses some of that power. Is that where the idea of these wands came from, do you think? What is the cause of the thought that a wand is somehow magical?
That's an excellent question. I have not given that much thought as to why they use wands. Probably because druids probably started that. I'm sure it's older than them, though. I mean, all this stuff really is. It's just as it bubbles back into collective knowledge, I guess. It's probably just a little simple thing that it contains some life force, so it will amplify your intention, or however quote unquote magic works.
Okay, but you're saying if we do have control or an understanding of how to affect the principle of cause and effect, we can make physical manifestations of things that we desire come into reality. We can affect the nature of the energy of the universe to present itself in the form that we desire.
I think that that's probably accurate. The question is, if you're being self-serving, are you doing any... Whoa. Ted, what was that? What? An email to the studio? That's the first time ever. Nah, we'll look at it later. It's fine, Ted. Anyway, what was I saying?
We were talking about physical manifestation as a result of learning how to manipulate the principle of cause and effect on reality.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there are like certain chemical processes that we obviously can do. We can combine certain elements and create new molecules. We can manifest certain chemical solutions out of other chemicals, right? Like we see this in chemistry constantly. Plastic, that's a perfect example of us creating a physical reality that wasn't there before. Of course, we learned how to refine petroleum, which is a natural substance, in order to create something that's a thicker, more soupy construct of that construct until it became a rigid plastic thing. And now it's our lifeblood. It's the one thing that humans do more of. I'd say we probably create more plastic than anything else in the universe right now. And we love it. It's our favorite thing in the world. I don't know why, but it is one of those things where we're sort of manifesting a reality that we desire, if you want to extrapolate to that point. Like you could build an entire building, a house out of plastic if you want to do a skyscraper, and you could build it, out of just some sludge that you found in the ground. So in some sense, we can perform miracles in a way. We don't necessarily wave a wand at the plastic to get it to do it, but if you think of big heaters and ovens and things like that combine the elements together as a wand, because they are just tools that we've created, then that's very similar, I would say.
Yeah, I think the wand and the other stuff is probably just an unnecessary gadget. If you knew what you were really doing, would you really need a wand? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not a wizard. I don't have a wand.
So how do we get to that point? Is that the desire? Can we manifest change in our own personal world? How can individuals use this principle of cause and effect to benefit their lives, other than just making observations of the universe around them? Are there any examples that you've had in your own life where you made changes? You were saying earlier you've been trying to overcome some traumas. Maybe don't give an example of something too personal, maybe something that's an example of something else that you overcame in your life by applying this principle.
Well, my biggest thing of late has been trying to change my thinking from, breaking the negative thought patterns and doing a lot more right thinking, as it's called. Well, I'm trying to figure out the cause of the effect. Is the cause me making the decision to alter my thought patterns? Because they have to be. Otherwise, you can't sustain a shitload of negative thoughts all the time.
Well, there'll certainly be effect if you do, right?
Yeah.
It kind of will make your life suck, right?
Yeah. Is the cause the desire, the thought to change, or the effort put into actual change?
I would say in this analogy, it's the effort. If you're trying to cause a certain effect, then you can cause that effect by putting in the effort. There's so many people in the world, they don't like themselves. They don't like their body, or they don't like their physical presentation, or they don't like the person that they are today. They don't like their job. They don't like their friends or their wife or their husband or their maybe the people of their family or people that they work with, or they don't like things in their life. And the thing I would say is that you can change your life. You can make decisions to make changes and take the small steps and add those steps up and change your life. I've seen it happen. I lived more than half of my life with a idea that I couldn't. Well, I think I knew that I could change myself, but I kept making decisions not to change myself because I was stuck in that rut, or, I was just continuing down the same path. But I've made big changes in my life and changed things about myself, like my physical presentation, the food that I eat, the diet that I have, the amount of exercise that I take, the amount of time I spend on self-improvement, the amount of effort that I put into things like practicing musical instruments and things like that, or honing new skills, or learning new information for a new job. You can make these changes in your life. You just have to basically figure out what steps it takes to have the effect that you desire, and then put the effort in to make that happen. I know you know that too, right? You've experienced changes in your life.
Most certainly. I think the more work you do put in, the better the change, most certainly. Not only in your physical body, but in your spiritual body too, because it's a trap. Like I was talking about earlier, that electromagnetic field that the body generates, it will hold stuff in places. So like these negative energies that are caused by traumas or whatever they're caused by, they can literally cause disease, like cancers and stuff like this.
Now we will take a break for some advertisements. Please support our sponsors.
I don't have a script because, we fly by the seat of our pants here.
Please reach us at liongoatpodcast@gmail.com to provide sponsorship. And now, back to the show.
Sure, of course. I think that cancer is one of these things that we don't really understand. There's lots of things like that in medicine. If you haven't noticed, they're just like, we don't really understand what that is, so we're just going to lump that shit together. There are many, many, many different kinds of what is called a cancer, and I think eventually they're going to find that a lot of cancers are caused by viruses. And people can become more susceptible to those viruses based on the amount of stress on their immune system. And stress that we have in our life, it can influence our immune system, whether it's stress from work or stress from telling ourselves negative stories, or maybe not spending enough time getting sleep or exercise or meditation. All these things can add stress to our lives. I think there's also other things that cause different kinds of cancer, like lung cancer, which is typically caused by an accumulation of some sort of toxic poison in the body. People decide to have jobs where they expose themselves to coal mines or coal dust or, whatever, and they get lung cancer, or they might smoke cigarettes or something, for example, and they might develop some sort of cancer from that. And of course, they're trying to self-medicate, or they're trying to achieve some other goal or some other desired feeling from those things that they do. And there is an outcome of those choices that they make that has an effect on their life in the future. And maybe that effect is cancer. But I think that cancer is sort of one of these things where, again, it's sort of this sort of wishy-washy field of medicine where cancer's just kind of like a bag of diseases, I think, that they throw stuff in, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I digressed a bit there from the point you were trying to make. Remind me of the point you were making.
Well, Buck, I'd have to remind myself of that very point because I have forgotten. You have droned on for what seemed like days and really didn't draw that to a conclusion. I don't feel successfully. So we're just going to sidestep that, go on and do something else, I guess.
Okay.
Well, it's called disease for a reason, right? The words matter, so pay attention to them. Look up the etymology of things. You'll find out how they've changed the words to mean shit it don't really supposed to mean.
Well, again, we go back to this idea of they. When you say they, I think what you mean is we.
What I mean is most likely Constantine.
Well, there are dudes through time, like the St. James version of the Bible, where certain people went in and they made massive changes to the literature because it had some effect that benefited their desired outcome. And that might be an example of a person taking the world into, I don't know. If you look back at history, you'll find all these different things. But that's sort of one of the principles, I think, that I'd like to discuss around cause and effect. This idea of things can appear to us as cause and effect only because we see the past in retrospect. You can perceive misfortune to yourself, but that's not necessarily evidence of some cause. You just have to be careful not to categorize things as cause and effect. When we see the past in retrospect, we think of time as this linear path. Time appears to move in a single vector. You can't move backwards to change the cause of something that has an effect today. Like you were saying, if I find $5 in the street, I might think to myself, the universe wanted me to have $5 and I get $5 today. But if you look back at the past through this vector of time in retrospect, your mind will make connections. We always make connections between everything. It's sort of like the fallacy that happens in the human mind in cases of like racism or prejudice. Prejudging situations because of certain connections that you think you see in the world can be a dangerous trap to fall in. I just want to emphasize that point. I don't think that's what cause and effect is trying to say. It's not the simple analogy of looking at the past and trying to put two things together and saying this is the cause and this is the effect. You sort of have to wrap this all up in the idea that there are energetic principles of the reality in which we live, or at least what we've observed so far. And we think that energy moves through the universe in a certain way. The universe expands, or the sun puts off heat because of fusion explosions between the atoms within it, and that causes energy to spread out to the earth, and that energy reaches the earth in the form of sunlight, and that causes all things to grow and all life in the universe as we know it to exist and flourish. So there is this idea of cause and effect, which is real and objective and can be observed, but it's not simply the same thing as connecting two things in your mind and thinking those two things go together. There is some philosophical debate on, do we create different realities when we imagine things and, different spheres of time through every action that we take.
Here's something that is interesting. A couple of weeks ago, I was hanging out with some fellas, and we were having this talk, and I thought, man, I should record this because this is pretty good topic. So, I pushed record on the thing, and we were talking, and we were wrapped that up. I left. I came on home, and I literally did nothing with that recording. And I talked to one of those guys today, and he said, man, that shit went viral. I said, what? Like, I guess in somewhere, some version of me uploaded it in that reality, whatever one he's walking around in, which is apparently different than mine. And people liked it. I didn't give it to him. It's on my phone. But he said it's gone viral. And I was like, what? I don't understand how.
Are you saying this guy lives in a different reality?
I don't know.
Well, of course we do. Yeah.
We all live. That's what I thought when he said that. I was like,
is he a podcaster?
No. That's why none of this makes sense to me. I should probably get better details. But
you do bring up an interesting point on psychology around the fact that we all live in our own reality, and a reality that we all live in is a story that we tell ourselves, and we can tell ourselves the story of cause and effect all day long, and that can be a completely different thing from the next person. I can believe cause and effect in my reality, which is different than the cause and effect you believe in your reality, which I think we experience that through this podcast. In every conversation that we have with everyone, that their story about reality that they tell themselves is different than the story that you tell yourself.
Okay. Well, folks, thanks for hanging out with us and putting up with Ted and his snarky shit today. Yeah, we love you. We love you out there, too, more than we do Ted. I promise you that's true. Thank you, Buck, for being here.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, Blind Alchemist.
Yeah. I always enjoy our conversations, even when we're not podcasting. But now we've got to go. So, from all of us here at the Isle of Mind and the Blind Alchemy Podcast, we want to say thank you for being here. Hopefully, maybe to help somebody. Maybe it's helping me, and I'm not even sure. It could be. If it has an effect on someone else in a positive manner, well, that's the whole point of life. Thank you. Have a good evening.
We would love to receive your feedback and your questions for advice. Please email us or send us a voicemail. Our address is theblindalchemypodcast@gmail.com. Find, like, review, subscribe, and contact us on Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and YouTube at The Blind Alchemy Podcast, all one word. Please subscribe to this podcast on your podcast player. We are available on Spotify, SoundCloud, and anchor.fm/The Blind Alchemy Podcast. Please tell all your friends, enemies, and any strangers to listen to our podcast. This will help us bring joy to everyone. Text-to-speech services were provided by freetts.com and readloud.net. Additional sound effects were provided by freesound.org. Attribution-free old music was provided by the Internet Archive collection of the Armed Forces Radio Service. We would like to extend a special thank you to the world's greatest musicians, sound designers, and engineers at Hairline Productions for their help with the composition, performance, editing, production, and recording of both the original music and today's show. Please like their content on SoundCloud.